Wait, you're the ones buying my company?
We're not buying your company.
We're taking back what you abandoned 20 years ago.
20 years earlier, Daniel Brooks had everything a man could dream of: a beautiful wife, two brilliant children, and a thriving manufacturing company that seemed destined to become an empire. But on one quiet morning, he walked away from all of it. He left behind nothing but a handwritten letter, a wedding ring, and a family that would spend the next 2 decades fighting to survive. What Daniel never imagined was that the children he abandoned would one day return, not looking for revenge, but holding the power to own everything he had built. The coffee mug slipped from Hannah Brooks' hand and shattered across the kitchen floor. She didn't even flinch. Her eyes were fixed on the folded piece of paper resting neatly against the fruit bowl, with her husband's wedding ring sitting on top of it. For a long second, the only sound in the house was the ticking clock above the refrigerator. Then she reached for the note with trembling fingers. "Hannah, I can't keep living a life that feels like it's standing still. By the time you read this, I'll be gone. Don't try to find me. The twins deserve stability, and I believe you'll give them that better than I can. I'm sorry." She read it once. Then again. By the third time, the words had stopped looking like sentences. They were just black ink destroying 22 years of marriage. Upstairs, a bedroom door opened. "Mom," a sleepy voice called. "Dad already leave for work." Hannah quickly folded the note and wiped at her face before 16-year-old Emma walked into the kitchen, still wearing an oversized hoodie. Emma stopped when she noticed the broken mug. "You okay?" Hannah forced a smile that barely reached her eyes. "I dropped it." Emma frowned. "Where's Dad?" Before Hannah could answer, Noah walked in, earbuds hanging around his neck. "Morning." He opened the refrigerator. "Dad take the truck? I needed it after school." Silence. Noah slowly closed the refrigerator door. "Mom." Hannah looked from one child to the other. She wanted to lie. She wanted one more morning before their lives changed forever. Instead, she quietly unfolded the note and placed it on the counter. Emma picked it up first. As she read, the color drained from her face. Noah gently took it from her hands. His jaw tightened. "He left." Hannah nodded. He left." Noah looked toward the garage through the kitchen window. The driveway was empty. "So that's it?" Nobody answered. Emma whispered, "He didn't even say goodbye?" Hannah shook her head. "No." The silence that followed hurt more than shouting ever could. Then the mail slot rattled. 3 envelopes slid onto the floor. Hannah picked them up absent-mindedly. The first read, "Final notice." The second, "Mortgage payment overdue." The third came from a bank she'd never dealt with before. She opened it. Inside was a notice informing both Daniel and Hannah Brooks that repayment on a business loan was now seriously delinquent. Amount due, $186,420.17. Her knees nearly gave out. "No," she whispered. Emma caught her before she hit the floor. "Mom, what happened?" Hannah handed Noah the letter. His eyes moved quickly across the page. "What business loan?" Hannah looked genuinely confused. I don't know." Noah frowned. "You didn't sign this?" "I don't remember." Within an hour, Hannah sat across from the family attorney. Mr. Collins adjusted his glasses as he reviewed the paperwork she'd brought. "The mortgage," he sighed, "was refinanced 8 months ago." Hannah stared at him. "What?" He turned another page. "This business loan appears to have been secured using the equity in your home." "I never agreed to that." "You signed here." He slid the document across the desk. Hannah froze. It was her signature. Or at least, it looked exactly like it. She whispered, "I've never seen this paper before." Mr. Collins looked uncomfortable. "If that's true, someone forged it." Emma leaned forward. "You mean my dad?" The attorney didn't answer. He didn't have to. Noah stood up so quickly his chair scraped the floor. "He used our house?" Mr. Collins nodded slowly. "It appears he started another manufacturing business about 18 months ago." "What?" "The company was registered under Daniel Brooks Industries." Hannah felt like the room was spinning. "He told me the old company wasn't making enough money." Mr. Collins looked down. "It appears he was using family assets to fund another venture." Emma whispered, "So while Mom was paying bills, he was building another company?" Nobody spoke. The truth was sitting there in black and white. Daniel hadn't disappeared overnight. He had been preparing to leave for a very long time. The weeks that followed blurred together. Neighbors whispered. Family members called. Some offered sympathy. Others offered opinions. Daniel's older sister, Melissa, arrived unannounced one Saturday afternoon. She walked through the front door, carrying a casserole dish. "I brought dinner." Hannah smiled weakly. "Thank you." Melissa looked around the living room. The silence felt heavy. Finally, she said, I talked to Daniel. Emma looked up immediately. You know where he is? Melissa hesitated. I do. Noah slammed his textbook shut. You know where he is, and you didn't tell us? He asked me not to. Emma stared at her aunt in disbelief. So you chose him? Melissa sighed. It's not that simple. Noah laughed bitterly. It actually is. Melissa turned toward Hannah. He said he needed a fresh start. Hannah smiled sadly. A fresh start from what? Melissa couldn't answer. He said, she began quietly. He finally met people who believed in his vision. What vision? Noah asked. He believes this new partnership could make him one of the biggest manufacturers in the Midwest. Emma folded her arms. So money. Melissa looked away. He said he spent 20 years putting everyone else first. Hannah let out a soft laugh. It wasn't angry. It was exhausted. He missed birthdays because of work. He missed anniversaries. He worked weekends. And somehow he convinced himself he was the only one sacrificing. Melissa's eyes filled with tears. I'm not defending him. No. Hannah asked gently. Then stop explaining him. The room fell silent. Melissa quietly placed an envelope on the coffee table. He asked me to give you this. After she left, Noah picked it up. Inside was a cashier's check. $20,000. Along with another handwritten note. Use this to get back on your feet. It's all I can spare right now. Someday, I hope you'll understand why I had to do this. Noah crumpled the paper. He thinks 20 grand replaces a father? Emma stared at the check for a long moment. Then she picked it up and walked outside. Hannah followed her. Emma dropped the envelope into the mailbox. What are you doing? I'm sending it back. Emma. He bought himself a new life. Tears rolled down Emma's cheeks. We're not helping him feel better about it. That night, after the twins had gone upstairs, Hannah sat alone at the kitchen table surrounded by bills. She quietly removed her wedding ring. She placed it inside a small wooden box, locked it, then whispered to the empty kitchen. I hope it was worth it, Daniel. Nearly 800 miles away, Daniel stood inside a gleaming new manufacturing facility overlooking rows of automated production lines. His new business partner, billionaire investor Victor Langford, smiled proudly. Congratulations. Daniel looked around the massive building. This is everything I've ever dreamed of. Victor clapped him on the shoulder. I told you. You were wasting your talent. Daniel nodded slowly, but for just a brief moment. His eyes drifted to the family photo still sitting inside his wallet. Emma, Noah, Hannah. He looked at it, then quietly slid it back into his pocket. One day, he whispered to himself, they'll understand. He had no idea that the two teenagers he left behind had just made a silent promise to each other. Neither of them would ever depend on someone else's promises again. The promise Emma and Noah made that night was never spoken out loud again. It didn't need to be. From that day forward, they simply lived it. The following Monday, Hannah woke at 4:30 in the morning for her first shift at a neighborhood diner. By 8, she was across town working part-time as a bookkeeper for a plumbing company. 3 evenings a week, she cleaned offices downtown. She never complained. Not once. When Emma asked, Mom, aren't you tired? Hannah smiled. Tired doesn't pay the mortgage. Noah watched her leave every morning in the same aging sedan, returning home long after dark with swollen feet and sore hands. One Friday evening, he walked into the garage carrying a toolbox. Mr. Jenkins, their elderly neighbor, looked up from his broken lawn mower. You know how to fix these? No, Noah admitted with a grin. But YouTube probably does. Mr. Jenkins laughed. If you get this thing running, I'll pay you. I don't want your money. You'll take it. 3 hours later, the mower sputtered back to life. Mr. Jenkins handed Noah a folded $100 bill. You earned it. Noah started to refuse. Then he thought about the overdue electric bill lying on the kitchen counter. He quietly accepted it. Emma found him later slipping the money into the jar Hannah kept for groceries. Why didn't you tell her? Noah shrugged. She'd tell me to keep it. Emma nodded. So we don't tell her. From then on, every Saturday became workday. Emma tutored younger students in math and English. Noah repaired bicycles, lawn equipment, and anything mechanical people brought to him. Every dollar went into the grocery jar. Hannah never knew exactly how it kept filling. She only smiled and said, God always provides. The twins looked at each other. Sometimes, God looked a lot like overtime. Months passed. Then one evening, the electricity went out. The house fell into darkness. Emma searched for candles while Noah grabbed a flashlight. Hannah opened the utility company's email on her phone. It's okay, she whispered. I'll call them. Emma gently took the phone from her hands. No. What do you mean, no? You've done enough. Emma walked upstairs. 5 minutes later, she returned carrying a small envelope. Inside were neatly folded bills. $800. Hannah stared at her daughter. Where did this come from? Emma glanced toward Noah. We've been working. You what? Noah smiled nervously. Just little jobs. You should have told me. Emma reached across the table and held her mother's hand. We didn't want you carrying everything alone. Hannah's eyes filled with tears. You two are supposed to be worrying about homework. Noah chuckled softly. We can worry about algebra and the light bill. For the first time since Daniel left, Hannah cried openly. Not because she felt defeated, because she realized she wasn't fighting alone anymore. Graduation arrived faster than any of them expected. Emma stood at the podium as class valedictorian. She looked across the audience until she found Hannah sitting alone in the third row. Everyone else's parents filled the seats around her. There was one empty chair beside Hannah, reserved months earlier, never occupied. Emma took a slow breath. My mother once told me that character isn't built on the best days of your life. She smiled toward Hannah. It's built on the days when quitting seems easier. The auditorium erupted into applause. Hannah wiped away tears before anyone noticed. Outside after the ceremony, Noah wrapped an arm around his mother. We did it. Hannah laughed. No, you did it. Emma shook her head. We followed somebody. She squeezed Hannah's hand. You. College wasn't easy. Emma attended Northwestern on scholarships and part-time work. Noah enrolled in Purdue's engineering program. They lived in tiny apartments, shared used furniture, worked weekends. Every Sunday evening, no matter how busy they were, they called Hannah. One Sunday, Emma answered with unusual excitement. Mom, what happened? I got the internship. Hannah smiled. The investment firm? Yes. I'm so proud of you. Emma hesitated. They assigned me to research manufacturing companies. Oh, it's actually fascinating. Noah laughed from across the apartment. Listen to the finance nerd. Emma threw a pillow at him. Be quiet. A week later, everything changed again. Emma sat in front of her office computer reviewing public company filings. One name caught her attention. Brooks Industrial Manufacturing. Her heart skipped. She clicked. Founder and Chief Executive Officer. Daniel Brooks. She stared at the screen. Noah. Her brother walked over. What? She silently turned the monitor toward him. Neither spoke for almost a minute. The company profile showed photographs. Daniel looked older, more confident, standing in front of a modern manufacturing facility. Beside him stood billionaire investor Victor Langford. The article headline read, From Small-Town Dreamer to Manufacturing Success Story. Noah read every word, then quietly closed the web page. Don't tell Mom. Emma looked surprised. Why not? What good would it do? Emma sighed. You're right. That evening Hannah called as usual. So how's school? Busy, Emma answered. Everything okay? Everything's fine. Emma lied for the first time in her life. Not to protect herself, to protect her mother. Years rolled by. Emma became a financial analyst. Noah joined an engineering firm designing automated production systems. Both excelled. Both saved every dollar they could. One Christmas, they returned home carrying groceries. Not bags. Truckloads. Hannah opened the front door and laughed. What on earth? Noah grinned. You said we needed milk. I did not say I needed enough milk for the neighborhood. Emma smiled. You've spent years taking care of us. It's our turn. That night, while decorating the Christmas tree, Hannah looked at her grown children. You know, I've always worried you missed out because of everything that happened. Emma immediately shook her head. No, you gave us something most people never get. Hannah looked confused. What? Noah answered. An example. 3 years later, the twins made the biggest decision of their lives. Emma walked into Noah's apartment carrying a thick business plan. I think we're ready. Noah looked up. For what? Our own company. He blinked. Seriously? We've spent years helping other people build businesses. She placed the folder on the table. Why not build our own? Noah slowly opened it. Manufacturing technology. Automation consulting. Employee-first leadership. Profit sharing. Ethical supply chains. He looked back at Emma. This could actually work. Emma smiled. It has to. What do we call it? She thought for a moment, then looked toward the old family photograph sitting on Noah's bookshelf. Hannah stood in the middle, the twins on either side. We built our future together. Noah nodded slowly. So, Twin Horizon Industries. Emma extended her hand. Partners. He shook it. Always. They didn't have wealthy investors. They didn't have family money. They had something else. Years of watching one woman refuse to give up, and neither of them realized. Across town, another manufacturing empire had quietly begun to crack. Daniel Brooks had everything he'd once dreamed about. Money, recognition, a corner office. But the company he'd sacrificed his family to build was carrying more debt than anyone outside the boardroom knew. The first emergency board meeting was scheduled for the following Monday. Daniel walked in believing they were discussing expansion. He walked out realizing, for the first time in 20 years, he might lose the very company he'd chosen over his family. And somewhere across the city, completely unaware of that meeting, Emma received a phone call that would change all three of their lives forever. Emma glanced at the unfamiliar number flashing across her phone before answering. Hello. Is this Emma Brooks? Yes. My name is Richard Coleman. I'm a managing director with Sterling Capital Advisors. Emma looked at Noah, who immediately lowered the volume on the television. I'm listening. We represent the board of Brooks Industrial Manufacturing. Emma's expression changed. We've heard remarkable things about Twin Horizon Industries. Your company's growth over the last 6 years has been impressive. Thank you. The board is considering several acquisition offers. Emma's fingers tightened around the phone. And we'd like to know if your company would be interested in submitting a proposal. Emma remained silent for several seconds. I'll need to discuss it with my business partner. Of course. We'll be waiting. The call ended. Noah looked at her. Tell me that wasn't. She nodded slowly. It was. He leaned back in his chair. Dad's company. Neither of them spoke. The silence carried 20 years of memories. Finally, Noah asked quietly, what do we do? Emma looked toward the framed photograph of Hannah sitting on the bookshelf. We asked Mom one question. That evening, they drove to Hannah's house. She was watering flowers in the front yard when she saw them. Well, this is a surprise. Emma smiled. We need your advice. Minutes later, they sat around the same kitchen table where Daniel's goodbye note had once changed everything. Emma carefully explained the phone call. Hannah listened without interrupting. When Emma finished, Noah asked the question that had been weighing on both of them. If you were us, would you buy his company? Hannah looked from one child to the other. For a long moment, she didn't answer. Then she smiled softly. If you're asking whether you should punish your father, my answer is no. Emma frowned. But after everything Hannah gently raised a hand. I didn't spend 20 years raising you to become bitter. Noah lowered his eyes. So what should we do? Hannah leaned forward. If that company still feeds hundreds of families, remember that those employees didn't leave us. Emma slowly nodded. They're innocent. Exactly. Hannah reached across the table. If you buy it because it's the right business decision, not because it's your father's. The twins looked at each other. Their decision was made. 3 weeks later, Twin Horizon Industries submitted the winning offer. The acquisition remained completely confidential. Only the board knew the identity of the buyers. Daniel didn't. He assumed another investment firm had outbid everyone else. The morning of the signing meeting, he stood in front of his office window staring across the manufacturing floor. His assistant knocked gently. They've arrived. Daniel adjusted his tie. Let's get this over with. Outside, a sleek white private jet rolled to a stop at the executive terminal. A black SUV carried Emma and Noah to headquarters. Neither said much during the drive. Noah finally broke the silence. Nervous. Emma smiled faintly. A little. You think he'll recognize us? She laughed softly. I hope so. Inside the conference room, the board members stood as the doors opened. Daniel looked toward the entrance. First came 2 attorneys. Then Richard Coleman. Then Emma. Noah walked in beside her. Daniel froze. The color drained from his face. Emma? Noah closed the conference room door behind them. Neither smiled. Neither looked angry. They simply took their seats. Richard cleared his throat. Mr. Brooks, I'd like to introduce the principals of Twin Horizon Industries. Daniel's eyes never left his children. This can't be. Emma calmly opened her folder. It can. Daniel slowly sat down. I don't understand. Noah looked at him quietly. We know. The room fell silent. Daniel swallowed hard. Your company. You built all this. Emma nodded. With a lot of help. Daniel's voice trembled. I'm proud of you. Emma looked at him for a long moment. Thank you. The professionalism in her voice hurt more than anger ever could. Daniel looked down at the acquisition documents. So, you're buying my company? Yes. He closed the folder. I suppose this is where you tell me I deserve it. Emma shook her head. No. Daniel looked confused. Noah spoke. We didn't come here for revenge. Emma continued. The day you left. Mom became two parents. Daniel closed his eyes. Noah finished quietly. Today, we're simply finishing what she started. No one spoke. Several board members discreetly wiped away tears. Daniel looked at his children. I thought if I became successful, one day you'd understand. Emma answered honestly. We understood. You chose ambition. We chose family. Daniel lowered his head. I've regretted that decision every single day. Noah asked gently. Then why didn't you come back? Daniel's voice cracked. Because every year that passed, I became more ashamed. I kept telling myself I'd come back after one more milestone. One more contract. One more expansion. One more year. He looked at Emma. And suddenly 20 years were gone. Emma didn't respond immediately. Finally, she said, regret changes the person carrying it. It doesn't change what happened. Daniel nodded. I know. Richard slid the final agreement across the table. The signatures, please. Daniel picked up the pen. His hand shook. He signed, then passed the folder to Emma. She signed beside him. Twin Horizon Industries officially became the owner of Brooks Industrial Manufacturing. News of the acquisition spread quickly. Employees feared layoffs. Instead, Emma called a company-wide meeting. More than 600 workers filled the production floor. Emma stepped onto the platform. I know many of you are worried. Murmurs filled the room. She smiled reassuringly. I have good news. No one is losing their job. The room fell silent. Pensions remain protected. Health benefits remain. We're investing in this company. Because families matter. Thunderous applause echoed through the building. Daniel stood quietly near the back, watching, listening. For the first time in years, he understood what real leadership looked like. 6 months later, the headquarters reopened after a complete renovation. Employees gathered outside beneath a covered bronze plaque. Emma invited Hannah to stand beside her. I don't understand, Hannah whispered. What are we doing here? Noah smiled. You'll see. Together they pulled away the blue velvet curtain. The plaque read, The Hannah Brooks Leadership Center, dedicated to the woman who proved that showing up every single day is the greatest act of leadership anyone can give. Hannah covered her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. You didn't have to do this. Emma hugged her tightly. We wanted everyone to know who built this company. Hannah laughed through her tears. I never built a company. Noah smiled. No, you built the people who did. The crowd erupted into applause. At the edge of the gathering, Daniel quietly stood alone. He didn't step forward. He didn't interrupt. He simply watched the family he had once walked away from. As people began leaving, he slowly approached Hannah. I don't expect forgiveness, he said softly. I only wanted to say, I'm sorry. Hannah looked at him for a long moment. I believe you're sorry. Daniel's eyes filled. But some stories, she continued gently, can't be rewritten. He nodded. I know. Emma and Noah walked over. Daniel looked at them. You became everything I hoped you would. Emma answered with quiet honesty. We became everything Mom taught us to be. Daniel smiled sadly. I suppose that's enough. He turned and walked away. Not defeated. Not humiliated. Simply a man forced to live with the consequences of one decision made decades earlier. Emma slipped her arm around Hannah. Noah joined them. The three of them stood together looking up at the new company sign. Twin Horizon Industries. Built on integrity. Led by family. Inspired by one mother's unwavering courage. Sometimes betrayal breaks a family forever. Sometimes it reveals the people strong enough to rebuild it. If Hannah had spent those years chasing revenge instead of raising her children, this ending would never have existed. And if Daniel had learned anything, it was this. Success earned at the cost of the people who love you is never truly success. If this story touched your heart, let us know in the comments. Do you think Emma and Noah made the right decision by buying their father's company instead of seeking revenge? Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who believes kindness is weakness. Sometimes the strongest people are simply the ones who refuse to become bitter. Because in the end, the greatest victory isn't proving someone wrong. It's becoming someone they never thought you could be.